Hello and welcome to the game. I'm John Kurtz. You're on News Radio KMAN, joined by Mason Voth. No news is good news on the K-State football coaching front. Still nothing official as of Thursday today. I do believe things to be moving in the direction, once again, of Seth Luttrell. More details on that in just a moment. I have found almost overwhelming support for Seth Luttrell. Minor pushback, and I think Seth Luttrell is by far the best candidate for K-State. Of course, right now, the head coach at North Texas, his team just won 9 games, back-to-back 9-win seasons for the first time at North Texas since Hayden Fry was the head coach. His offensive coordinator was, of course, Bill Snyder. If that gives you some context as to the job that Seth Luttrell has done. Interestingly enough, it's not that head coaching job that draws me to Luttrell as much as some of the other points on his resume. As far as the latest, here it is today. I don't think anything is going to be official in the near future, but it sounds like a step could be taken by the end of the day in the right direction as far as Seth Luttrell is concerned. He is still absolutely the coach you hear about the most. He is still the one that seems most likely, the one that we have confirmed has interviewed for the job at K-State with Gene Taylor, and so he remains to be the most likely candidate. Now, the other name, nobody likes this, is North Dakota State coach Chris Kleiman, which I do believe is a legitimate option if something were to happen, if it falls through with Seth Luttrell, or there's some sort of change of heart. But those are the two names right now that are really it as far as being out there. And Seth Luttrell, you should like, I think most people do like, this would be such a breath of fresh air. I don't want to get the cart before the horse, but if you're looking at candidates and you don't get excited by Seth Luttrell, I'm not sure what's running through your veins. This program clearly had gotten stale under Bill Snyder. It was a boring brand of football, played increasingly worse, and by the end was not a great product overall. In comes Seth Luttrell, okay? Culture change, a shift in what K-State football is. Young and exciting. He's 40 years old and has been a head coach for 3 years. The interesting part, at 40, he actually has 16 years of FBS coaching experience, so he is more experienced than you might think. He's going to upgrade and modernize the offense. It's an offense that does run it 47% of the time, at least this year, but it is much more from the air raid tree, the spread tree, probably a better phrase than air raid. He did coach under Mike Leach and also Bob Stoops. More on that in just a moment. But that's a part of this. He's a new, exciting face with no direct connections to Bill Snyder. Love Bill Snyder. Everything he did at K-State was absolutely incredible and cannot be replaced. But this is the time for the Wildcats to forge a new direction. This program needs to go a different direction and become disconnected from the Bill Snyder era, at least in terms of who the head coach is. You can welcome in the history, that's fine. But this candidate in Seth Luttrell has enough, I think, to appease that crowd that would like to see some direct tie to Snyder be the head coach because, again, Luttrell has worked under Mark Mangino and Bob Stoops, two former Snyder assistants. He played college football at Oklahoma. He knows the Big 12. He knows what K-State is about while still not being some kind of direct descendant from that Bill Snyder tree. The most attractive thing about him, to be completely honest, is the recruiting. And this is somebody that's been recruiting in Denton, Texas, okay? North Texas. Texas and Oklahoma comprise 21 of the 22 commitments that he has right now in his recruiting class, which, by the way, is ranked 55th in the country. K-State's in the 90s right now, so he's out recruiting K-State at North Texas easily, and Oklahoma and Texas are two places K-State has to be recruiting from and pulling more recruits from if they are going to compete in the Big 12. That's Seth Luttrell's wheelhouse. Not only is he from Muskogee, Oklahoma, that tells you what his relationship is going to be like with Oklahoma schools, but Texas, being in North Texas, recruiting there, that obviously helps a lot as well. He is the perfect fit from a regional standpoint if you want a recruiter. And if you are still curious about where his class ranks relatively, it was first overall as of right now as we speak in Conference USA at 55th overall. He was second in average star rating last year, trailing only Florida Atlantic and Lane Kiffin in Conference USA. So relative to his peers, this has been somebody that's recruited very well. And if you think, okay, K-State's a place where Bill Snyder had to come in and develop players. Can he take 3-star players, turn them into 5-star sort of players? I have good news for you. He has multiple first-team all-league selections in Conference USA. All were 2-star recruits, including a first-team all-defense linebacker in Conference USA, 2-star JUCO recruit from North Dakota with no other offers. In 2 years, Seth Luttrell flipped him and turned him into a first-team all-league player. Mason Fine, the quarterback of North Texas, who was the league offensive player of the year, former 2-star quarterback, only one other offer, not major at all. North Texas was about it. He's small. He does not have the stature of what you would think of an FBS quarterback having, but yet Seth Luttrell has turned him into a player. The recruiting has steadily stair-stepped up. It was in the 80s and 90s the first 2 years. Now it's taken a big jump as he's developed players. So the recruiting ties are there, and a track record of developing players is there. How about a track record of being a great offensive mind? In college football today and in football in general, everybody wants these young, brilliant offensive minds. Arizona, Indiana, and North Carolina all significantly improved with Seth Luttrell as their offensive coordinator. And notice that these are not power schools. This is not the blue blood Texas and Oklahoma of college football that have improved. He's done it in tough places. North Carolina, where Seth Luttrell was at before North Texas, Tar Heels had their most touchdowns, passing yards, and first downs ever in school history in 2015. They won 11 games that year. Seth Luttrell was the trigger man for the offense. At Indiana before that, his final season, he had the 9th best offense in terms of total offense in the country and was top 30 both running the football and passing the football, if that does something for you. At Arizona, you may recognize one of his proteges there, Rob Gronkowski. He did coach Gronk in his time at Arizona and led that offense to 15th in the nation in total offense in his lone year as the sole offensive coordinator there. So a lot of the things you'd be looking for in hiring a coordinator to be the head coach are there already with him, and then you throw in what he's done at North Texas as the head coach and the historical context there of being the only coach to win 9 games in back-to-back seasons since Hayden Fry in 1977-78 with Bill Snyder as his offensive coordinator. That obviously makes you feel good about it. And don't forget what he inherited. It was a program that was 1-11, arguably the worst FBS team in the country when he took over in 2016. The team in 2015 lost a game to FCS Portland State by 59 points. That's how bad things were under Dan McCarney by the end at North Texas. And Seth Luttrell breathed enough life to turn it into a 5-win team and get into a bowl game at 5-7 his first year. And then obviously 9 games, a chance for a 10th in the bowl game. It would be the best season in North Texas school history if he does get that win. Yes, you can come back and say, and most of the criticism that I've seen here are 2 things. One would be he has not won a conference title. He's won a division title, played for the conference title last year, did not win, lost to Lane Kiffin. He has not won the conference, and that overall record is only 23-16. That's not pristine on paper, certainly, but you have to remember what he inherited and how bad that program was, the turnaround job that's there, and frankly, had this been somebody that won 10 or 11 games each of the last 2 years, that's out of K-State's price range. I love K-State. I think K-State should elevate itself to a point of taking somebody that they believe to be a very good football coach. You don't need to be going for somebody that wants to be here like a Jim Leavitt, the defensive coordinator at Oregon right now that people think wants to be here. And that's really the other argument here. The worry for some on Seth Luttrell, if they're not going to knock the record that Seth Luttrell has, the other knock would be, what happens if Oklahoma comes calling in a few years? What happens if a big boy job comes calling for Seth Luttrell? Is he going to be a job hopper or a stepping stone? I'm so sick of hearing that thrown out there with Seth Luttrell, a stepping stone. Who cares? If that happens, it means he has elevated K-State's program to the point that, say, Oklahoma is interested in him. How well will he have performed at K-State if Oklahoma, who can have their pick of the litter if Lincoln Riley bolts for the NFL at some point here, what is that going to say about what he would have done at K-State if Oklahoma is going to come cherry-pick him? That would mean that you won games along the way, a la Matt Campbell at Iowa State, who's been rumored with Ohio State and some of the other bigger Jobs. Iowa State would not trade the Matt Campbell era right now for anything, even though there is some of that uncertainty because he has elevated their program. And even more importantly for K-State than some other programs in this position, Cats need to prove that you can win without Bill Snyder here. That's the fear of everybody is, okay, what if this is another Ron Prince? Ron Prince didn't really win here. It does, if you look back in the history books, still reflect on Bill Snyder being the only coach that's won at K-State. I think we all get and understand that history. if you have a coach like Luttrell that comes in and is not going to stay for 10, 15, 20 years, which is very rare in college football now anyway, if he leaves in 3 years and it's because he's going to a big job, he's won, and your program suddenly becomes a program and not Bill Snyder football program. It's K-State's football program, not Bill Snyder's. And that's a key difference and a big difference why K-State just needs to break off, go in a new, exciting direction. I believe that to be Seth Luttrell. It seems like Seth Luttrell is the most likely option here. We'll continue to keep you up to date here on the show and on Twitter at JL Kurtz at the Game KMAN as things move along. Now, I have not gotten a ton of pushback on this, but if you are a little bit tepid about Seth Luttrell, if you are uneasy about Seth Luttrell as the head coach of K-State, I would love to hear from you. 537-1350. Tweet us at the Game KMAN. I would love to get some pushback there. And speaking of Matt Campbell, does Seth Luttrell have a better resume than Matt Campbell's at the time he jumped to Iowa State? The answer is pretty clear. I'll tell you about it next. Back in here on Wildcat Insider, I'm John Kurtz. Mitch Fortner is with me. No Wyatt Thompson today. Very pleased to be joined right now by K-State Athletic Director Gene Taylor. Appreciate the time here, Gene. And first of all, let me say that I very much appreciate the fact that you come on, considering everything that's happening right now, and I very much respect you for coming on here. So I will toss that out there first. I appreciate you making the time, Gene.
I appreciate it very much. It's not a big deal. It's what we got to do, right? We got to talk about the season and what lies ahead.
How much interaction have you had with Coach Snyder since the game ended?
We talked a little bit after the game, and it's you kind of gauge that as AD is how much you spend time with the coaches after a tough loss. And I think for that particular deal, I just said, hey, hang in there, and told most of the coaches to hang in there, and then watched the presser, and then left. They were in a hurry to get out of there because of the weather. And then we chatted a little bit this morning, and we just kind of laid out some timeline and figured out what our next steps are going to be.
So what is the timeline to you on a decision for Bill Snyder and what's going to happen moving forward?
Well, I think we'll get something settled this week. He's got some things he wants to work through, and I think he deserves that opportunity. And I'm going to be out of town tomorrow. He's going to be out of town tomorrow, and we'll probably get together later this week and just kind of talk through the season and talk about things that, we need to do to get better and figure out what the next steps are.
Gene Taylor is with me on Wildcat Insider, K-State Athletic Director. Texas Tech over the weekend decided to part ways with Cliff Kingsbury. That's another peer school that's in the market looking for coaches now. Does that put, I'll ask it like this, how much extra pressure does that put on just the timing of getting a decision made here and how quickly it needs to happen?
I know some people would think that, oh my goodness, we're in the market for the same type of candidates. If we were to make if there's a change here for some reason, but I don't ever look at it that way. To me, I think if there is a change, I have confidence in our program. I have confidence who we are as an institution that we're going to have a lot of candidates that would be interested in coming to K-State. And if it's not the most popular candidate out there that some people want to have in the mix, then there's going to be just as good a candidates that can come here and make this football program to continue to get better. Again, that's all a matter of if, and we'll work through that, like I said. But I don't worry about what other people are doing. The minute I start doing that, then I'm going to be a mess. I have, like I said, a ton of confidence in who we are as a program, and I know that we'll get an outstanding candidate to come here and coach.
How much involvement would you say you plan on having in this decision-making process as it moves forward?
Well, Coach gets a lot of latitude based on what he's done for our program, and as much as he's done not only for football but for this institution and really for the state of Kansas in a lot of ways. And I think some people have a tendency to lose sight of that pretty quickly, and that's disappointing in some ways. But at the end of the day, my job as athletic director and President Myers is we need to figure out how do we continue to make our program better. And at some point, we'll come to that conclusion after we talk to Coach. Gene
Taylor, K-State AD, with me on Wildcat Insider. I have no idea how much stock you you do or should put into this, but K-State Online did run a poll today asking if fans want Bill Snyder to be K-State's coach next year, and at least last I checked, about an hour ago, it was 93% no, they do not. What's your perception of where the fans stand on what they want moving forward?
Obviously, our fan base is important, and I'm never ever going to deny that. As we try to put 50,000 fans in this stadium every week, they're critically important. Fan polls, I don't pay a lot of attention to. They're fun to read, but at the end of the day, my job as athletic director is to make sure our football program is in the best situation that it can be to continue to get better. And again, if I start paying attention to that to drive my decisions, then I'm going to be in big trouble at some point. And I'm literally reading an article about coaching decisions and long-term contracts and how they get made. And, a lot of times some bad decisions have been made by pressure from the fan base or what the public perception is. And we're not going to do that here. I've got a great president, and he and I will, talk a lot about where we are as a program. And at the end of the day, we'll make a decision that's best for our program, whether it's a short-term decision for the next couple of years or a long-term decision down the road.
Gene Taylor talking with me here. As far as that is concerned, if you go back a week, I know the Texas Tech game, it was bitterly cold. I can certainly attest to that. The students were on Thanksgiving break, but was it alarming to you to see what the attendance was there at the final home game this year?
No, because we saw it coming even before the season started, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at ticket sales and monitor ticket sales, that weekend we knew was going to be a difficult one because it was Thanksgiving, Saturday, the Saturday before Thanksgiving. We knew our students were going to be gone. Weather, obviously we didn't know the weather, but as we monitored the ticket sales, even, at the early part of the year, that particular game was slow in single game sales. And obviously as the year went along, we were struggling, and that continued. So, and then the weather hits. And so, I was not surprised by it. Would have probably been a low attended game had we been already bowl eligible, to be frank with you, just because of the particular weekend that it falls. And, I actually rewatched the game via television. They replayed it later, and I thought it sounded good. Certainly looked empty, particularly the students were. So, I wasn't surprised just because we've been monitoring it the whole football season.
This is something I asked because, honestly, I just am totally blind to it. I have no idea what the typical operating procedure is for this. But if you're in a situation where you anticipate you may have a coaching change on the horizon at the end of the season, how much work do you have to do behind the scenes just to make sure, I suppose, that you're prepared for if and when that moment happens?
I've told people this, and whether they believe it or not, that's fine. But I think any AD is always needing to be prepared for a coaching change, whether it's somebody who's been in the program a long time, whether it's a guy like Jimmy Pollard at Iowa State. It seems like every year somebody's coming after Matt, or a sudden change that maybe somebody like Kirby had at Texas Tech. I think you always need to be prepared. And people say, "Do you have a list?" I've had a list, for a long time, not just here, but even any place I've been. And you watch coaches, you talk to your friends, you say who's out there that you think might be a good fit. And, as that particular decision becomes a little more imminent, then you really start you have to be careful, right? Because you can't trust anybody, and so you got to have some pretty close confidence in the business that you can call and say, hey, what about this guy, or what about this situation? And you can find out that information. And then when it does happen, and in particular because of today's world of how quickly these things get hired or how these things happen, you got to be able to move pretty quickly, and you got to kind of have a plan at least in your mind of how you're going to approach that once the decision comes. And, we knew at some point Coach was going to step down, right? He's not going to be here forever, and it was part of the discussion when he got hired, and last year, obviously. So it's in my mind of the process I have if something were to happen.
Gene, before we let you go, somebody on Twitter was asking me earlier if I'm going to lob you softball. So I have a softball to lob your way here to end this.
All your ones have been softballs tonight.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I got called out there.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you've asked you've asked fair questions and questions that I'm, you've got to answer this time. It's not unusual, so I appreciate it.
Well, I'll leave you with this. Besides turkey, what did you eat the most of on Thanksgiving?
Oh boy, probably the pumpkin pie and strawberry pie that we had. And by the way, when I do that, I pile a lot of whipped cream on there. So people wonder if I've got pie under there, if it's just a big pile of whipped cream. So.
I like that. I'm glad you're Team Pumpkin. I think that's far and away the best pie that is out there, and I get very upset when people disagree.
Yeah, I'm a good dressing guy too, but you got to save a little bit more room for pie.
That's right. Gene, really appreciate the time and joining me here on the show, and looking forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, take care, fellas. Talk to you later.
Kurtz, Mitch Fortner. I'll just play the short clip here if you missed it. I played all 3.5 of my questions a couple times on the show already today to Bill Snyder about the quarterbacks, but here is the one where he got upset, just if you had not heard this, to refresh. Coach, is back to the question I asked a second ago. When talking about sparking the offense, were there similarities between what Skyler did?
You write what the hell you want to write.
59457. I'd love to hear your opinion. You disagree with me? You think I was unfair? That's fine. I'd like to hear from you. The Game KMAN. Or text 59457. You can also call us at 537-1350. We talked to Don from Manhattan now. What's up, Don?
Hey, pretty nice little day. Well, let's start at the beginning here. You guys did this to him. You built him up. You gave him a statue, named a stadium after him, gave him a highway, but nobody would ask, what if? And now he's got a pretty good ego, and he's just, he's better than that. He don't a little higher up the food chain there, buddy, and he don't need to answer those tough questions because you don't know who you're talking to. But you're right. I mean, if he's a state employee, and the First Amendment rights come in here. We need to know what's going on and everything. And you did nothing wrong, but he's just not used of having people question his judgment.
Hey, Don, I appreciate the phone call, and you make good points. And like I said, I'm fairly ashamed to admit that I used to be scared of asking questions and scared to do much of this because that is exactly why, Don, that is exactly why this situation has come to pass and come to be. So you're right. If you want to criticize us and say we should have been doing this more all along so it's not this big shock when it happens right now, I think you're totally fair in saying that. So appreciate the phone call. 537-1350. Again, to join us, you can text me at 59457. You can tweet me at the Game KMAN. We welcome in Pam from Manhattan. What's up, Pam?
Hi, I just wanted to comment, John. I'm not a Kansas native, so I'm looking in from the outside. And first of all, I just want to say that I thought your comments, your questions to the coach were spot on. I think I'm rather shocked at the way people kowtow to the coach. I think that he has a legacy that should be respected, but not. I mean, he's not God, and people around here act as if he is, and he's not Jesus. And really, the comments that he made back to you. I mean, I went, ooh, that was really inappropriate for him to say that to you, and it just goes to show you that he is not acting professional. And frankly, I think he should have retired at least last season, if not sooner. And that's all I have to say. I think you're doing a good job, and I think you've grown in the couple of years that I've been listening to you, and I think you should stay on course. And Mitch and who's the new guy, Mason? Mason is really impressive for someone of tender years. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, appreciate the phone call, Pam. Mason can't even go out to Aggieville and get a drink with us. So when you consider his talents and where he's at this stage in his career, it is pretty amazing. I totally agree with you on that. We go to the phones now and welcome in James from Manhattan. What's up, James?
Hey, buddy, man, the hate the bill train. People are jumping on that, aren't they? Hey, I think a couple things. I think you're absolutely well within your bounds to ask those questions. I think you're right. I think people have given him a wide berth for a long time, and I don't think what people are saying. He thinks he's God and he's arrogant. I don't know. I know Bill personally. I don't believe that. Do I think he's very confident in himself? Yes. Do I think he's pretty sure in his position? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's where that comes out, is statements like, well, you're not on the field, you're not a coach. Well, that's pretty arrogant, but at the same time, that's pretty true. I'm almost positive, though, he went back to his office and he said, man, I didn't handle that quite right. And so there's some frustration coming out. And the other thing that you might know is there's always more behind the scenes than we know. And that sounds to me like there's more there than he's wanting to comment on. With that said, you're well within your bounds to ask those questions. And I'm also going to say, in my personal opinion, and knowing Coach Snyder personally, I think he should have retired a couple years ago. I think the game is just moved on past him a little bit. I think he is a great, great football mind, but I think that he hasn't kept up with some of the rules, and some other coaches have taken advantage of some of those things and has moved the game ahead of him. And he is more interested in recruiting for coachability than talent, and that's pretty evident. And so with that said, keep asking the questions, but be respectful, and hopefully he responds in a professional way. And I'm guessing at some point you're going to get an apology from him saying, okay, I didn't like the question, but I'm sorry I didn't respond to it well either. So anyway, that's my 2 or 3 or 4 cents.
Yeah. Hey, Joel, I appreciate the call. I appreciate you saying all that. I trust me, I want nothing but to be respectful. I've said this before. I will say it again. I do the job that I'm doing. I am here in this seat today because of Bill Snyder. I fell in love with sports by falling in love with K-State football growing up, coming to every single game, every home game that is, from the time I was as young as I can remember up through high school, and then eventually I came to K-State. I have immense respect for Bill Snyder. I have a full grasp on his impact to this town, to this school, to this community. 100% get it. I just also feel like I have to ask some questions here when the questions need to be asked. And I don't feel like my questions were disrespectful, and I don't want to be disrespectful. So that's where I'm at with this. Again, 537-1350. If you want to join the show, you can text 59457. We talked now to Joel in Manhattan. What's going on, Joel?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Joel Jellison, local celebrity, former Manhattan Mercury sports writer.
Yeah, John, I was just thinking, and I think I texted you this a couple weeks. When a lot of media members ask questions here, tough questions, and I'd been covering Snyder since he came back this last time, just a little bit before you even got on there. But, it's nothing for him to demean a reporter if he thinks the question is out of line or if he just doesn't like it. I think, we've both seen him do that, especially with younger reporters, people who are still in college. I think he kind of develops this reputation where if you don't throw him those softballs, he might make you look like an idiot. There's a lot of moments where somebody asks a question in those press conferences and the rest of us are laughing at Bill's response, and usually it's in some way a little bit demeaning to the reporter that makes us do that a lot of times. But I think this is just the reality. He doesn't like tough questions. He's not ever going to like tough questions because he's been able to hide behind the small media for so long. He's been able to basically do anything he wants here. And, we're in a day and age where a lot more things are being reported, a lot more questions are being asked. There's more numbers. You've been tweeting so many numbers, from Pro Football Focus that weren't really at our fingertips or something that we thought about when he was through his first run. And I think he doesn't know how to handle those kind of questions, but it's nothing new. And I would suspect, I wouldn't expect an apology from him. I think that would shock me. Like the last caller said, I don't think I've ever heard Bill apologize to a reporter for anything he said, and he probably feels he's right for what he said to you today.
Hey, Joel, appreciate the phone call. I greatly appreciate you saying all those things, all those thoughts, because I think they're very accurate. And I'm with you on the apology thing. And look, I don't feel like I deserve an apology. I don't think I'm not here to say any of that. I think we're both in the position that we're in, and I understand why both of us react in the way that we reacted. He doesn't like tough questions. Most people don't. Most people are not comfortable with them, and that's fine. I'm going to be asking the questions because I feel like somebody needs to. And, look, Bill Snyder makes over $3 million a year and is one of the highest paid employees in the state. Joel, are you still there? What does Bill Self make? Do you remember off the top of your head what Bill Self makes?
Oh, I mean, he's making similar kind of money, more, obviously, I think. But, the other thing there is that Bill is the only spokesperson for the program. There's a lot of places you can go where you can talk to assistant coaches during the year or get other views, but he is the one voice. He gives you very few players to talk to, and oftentimes he's the only guy you can ask those questions to. So that's the environment he's created. You're right, he's paid a lot. All these coaches are paid a lot to deal with these questions, and it's really up to the reputation they want to develop and the respect they want to show for the reporters to decide how they're going to answer.
Joel, I appreciate it. Hope things are going well with you, with the kiddos and all that. So we'll talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
537-1350 if you want to join the show. I think we do have another caller coming up here, but we need to break just to stay on schedule. So, again, feel free, 537-1350. We'll go to the phone lines when we come back, 59457, the game KMAN. A lot of ways to get in touch. What do you make of this whole situation today? This is the game. Commander in tweets on the state of the Big 12 right now. K-State rolls over Oklahoma State in the second half. Great! Now I can go after horsehair Mike Gundy and his third-rate quarterback. He knows nothing about football. A total con. Here's another one. Just heard Iowa State was fined $25,000 for rushing the field. Little Red Bull man should be fined for his sad, pathetic ratings. Nobody watches a blowout. Another one. About time that low IQ Lincoln decided to fire Psycho Stoops. Last time I saw Psycho Stoops, he was bleeding badly from a facelift at Mar-a-Lago. Oklahoma having a good defense is a total hoax and fake news. Sad. And finally, the FBI goes after Crooked Self. Total collusion between Crooked Self and slimy Adidas. Guess Crooked S couldn't delete all of his emails. Now do you understand the concept, Mason?
Yeah, I understand.
I railed on brackets yesterday and how I think it's getting to fantasy football levels for me. This is the most enjoyment I think I got out of an actual NCAA tournament bracket this year was walking our friend Crowley through filling this out. You can hear him on 101.5 K-Rock. Cares absolutely zero about sports. Mitch, you know Crowley pretty well. How would you assess his sports knowledge?
It doesn't exist.
Here's Andy Crowley.
Not to that level.
The number one seed in the West is Xavier. They take on Texas Southern.
You know what? Because I'm throwing my money away anyway. Let's go with Texas Southern, even though I'm not a fan of Texas. I don't trust anybody that starts a word with the letter X. It feels like it should come after a vowel. Is it X Xavier? Is it Xavier? And also, it's like, hey, quit ripping off the X-Men here, okay?
Missouri, Florida State, the 8-9.
Missouri is like the Florida of the Midwest, I feel like. Except that Oklahoma is also that. You know what? You can buy bottle rockets over in Missouri. Well, that'll give them the edge. Missouri.
Gonzaga and UNC Greensboro. That is 4-13.
You know, it's almost lunchtime. Let's go with Gonzaga. Gorgonzola. It's like a cheese.
North Carolina and Lipscomb.
Can I call them Hot Lipscomb? That is
sure.
We'll do Hot Lipscomb.
Okay.
That's an old school joke for people that have seen the movie MASH.
Florida, St. Bonaventure.
St. Bonaventure. I took some French in college. I thought I could woo women like that, but I don't know if it's that women don't respond to the French language anymore or I'm just pretty bad at it.
Texas Tech and Stephen F. Austin. That's 3-14.
Everyone around here really loves pro wrestling, so this is a team pick. We're going to give it to Steve Austin, Austin 316, the full bit. Yeah.
That's right. Very good. Very good. Arkansas Butler, 7-10.
Big Butler. I like Big Butler, and I cannot lie.
Seton Hall, NC State.
We'll go with Seton. We got some Seton Hall here over at K-State.
We do quite literally have a Seton Hall.
We literally have Seton Hall.
Clemson, New Mexico State, 5-12.
I don't know what a Clemson is. You know what? We'll give it to New Mexico just for hosting the show Breaking Bad. They're going to have a lot of energy on that team is what I'm saying.
Crystal meth joke there, people.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to the round of 32 here. It's going to start moving quicker. You have K-State against UMBC.
K-State. I'm going to have them winning the tournament because who cares?
Loyola against Wright State.
They're not the wrong state, are they?
Radford, who upset Villanova, and Virginia Tech.
Dude, that's so Radford.
Radford to the Sweet 16. Mizzou and Gonzaga.
Gonzaga. Oh, finally we get Mizzou out of there. Thank goodness.
St. Bonaventure and Butler.
Give it to the Frenchies. Freedom fries.
How would I say that, like with a French accent? I'm trying to...
Saint Bonaventure.
Our Elite Eight now is 9-seed K-State, 14-seed Wright State, 4-seed Gonzaga, 15-seed Hot Lipscomb, Wichita State a 4, St. Bonaventure an 11, Auburn a 4, and Duke a 2. Gonzaga and Hot Lipscomb. This is big.
Cheese versus the movie MASH. I'm going to go with cheese.
Well, it's a nice run for Hot Lipscomb. So we've arrived at a Final Four of K-State, Wichita State, Gonzaga, and Duke.
K-State and Gonzaga, huh?
K-State and Gonzaga, yes.
K-State. And we're going to go WSU, and we're going to have two Kansas teams
all right.
in the final.
The Sunflower Showdown National Championship.
So K-State.
And K-State wins it. There's some big news for Johnny Kurtz, and this is how the Star is beginning to rise just a little bit. This also ties into the show. The Star has started to rise for Johnny Kurtz enough that he has been included on one of those compilation CDs that you'll see. I don't know if you want to call them infomercials, but you'll see the commercials for the compilation CDs, the greatest love songs of all time.
What you're thinking of is the Time Life.
Yes, Time Life, yeah. So if you do like the show, if you like Johnny Kurtz, pay attention to the next 1 minute and 50 seconds, please.
You've heard the game on News Radio KMAN before, but you haven't heard it like this.
It's on its tail in MHK. I'm sweating buckets, bailing this hay. Thinking about my girl's booty shake.
Now you can have a collection of the classics on just one compact disc. Smash hits like the Bruce Weber Pain Train.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
New takes on the songs you know and love.
Celebrate Alex Smith. Come on.
The studio recordings will take your breath away.
Sing us a song, you piano man.
There we go.
Sing us a song tonight.
But just wait for the heartfelt live performances. You'll fall in love all over again with your favorite characters.
Wise men say only fools rush.
It's the most wonderful time of the year to be a Patriots fan.
The Game Complete Collection can refresh your soul for the low price of just 3 easy payments of $19.95, plus shipping and handling.
I lost my pretty wife, my dog and truck tonight, 'cause of 30 of Natty Light.
Just call 769-6969 now to get the love back in your life.
Thinking about my girl's booty shake.